Hello folks, this is Chris, KY4CKP. This week we're going to talk about the field trip that KY4BDP Brian and I took up to visit with K3LR Tim Duffy from DX Engineering and take a tour of his awesome setup and all the incredible antennas and radios he has. So stay tuned. All right. Well, we had Tim Duffy, K3LR, give a presentation for our club via Zoom. Gave a really great presentation and showed off his awesome setup that he has at his house. And he also gives tours of his facility. And he works a lot of contests, and he has a lot of groups come in, and young people groups and so forth to come in to share the hobby that he loves so much. And so KY4BDP Brian and I decided, hey, let's go up there and take a tour of his facilities, just have kind of a fun road trip out of it. And we took a couple of extra days coming and going. It really wasn't that far away from us. I think it was maybe 4.5 hours or so from me and about 6 from Brian. And do some POTA on the way there and back, and I just kind of have some fun with it. So that's what we did. We hopped in the car and went up that way. Again, we did some POTA on the way up at a nice little park, as we'll see, and also did some POTA on the way home, and of course got to tour that awesome facility. So this was on the way up, and we hit this first park, a very nice little park right here on a lake, and wasn't real busy. Of course, kind of the middle of a day. I think this was a Friday, and so we got there, had plenty of room, found a good spot, set up his link dipole, and just set up, and we're going to work some POTA. It was a pretty warm, humid day, so we did decide to basically just set up in the back of his truck and set up his portable setup for his ICOM 7300, and had a good time, and got the activation done. I think it was about an hour, maybe less than an hour, which I felt was not too bad. Again, kind of the middle of a day, a work day. But yeah, it was a nice little park. Again, we had plenty of room to set up the band hopper link dipole there. Those are a fun project, and if you've never made an antenna, or if you've ever thought about something like a link dipole, it's a pretty easy do-it-yourself project you can do. In fact, we did some videos on that, and ended up giving that one away. And it turns out one of our club members won it, but yeah, it's a kind of a cool project. If you want to do an antenna of some style, and if you have any interest in portability, I mean, you could kind of semi-permanently install these, but they are also very nice for portability because you can keep them pretty light. You just need a mast or maybe a tree to put it up into. So yeah, we got to the park. The SWR for the antenna was higher than normal. I don't know if it was something about being by the lake, the terrain, or something. It was usable. We were certainly able to use the tuner built into the radio and use it. Normally, this antenna tunes fairly close to 1-to-1, or just a little over 1-to-1. It was a little over 2 today, but again, we were able to tune that out. We got out his 7300, plugged it in, and did some POTA from the back seat of his truck, and just took a few pictures and filmed a couple of things. Again, it was a really nice park. Again, it was pretty hot, though. It was probably, I don't know, close to 90 degrees and pretty significant humidity. So we decided not to set up the table and chairs outside or anything. But we had a good time doing the POTA activation, and we'll hear a brief snippet of that. I did the POTA activation at this park on our way up, and Brian did the activation at a park we'll see a little bit later on the way back. So it actually worked out quite nicely. We had plenty of room in the back of his truck and could set up and see the radio and have the air conditioning running to keep us from getting too terribly hot, and had a good time with it. So yeah, we just took some extra time and had a nice run. Park Kilo 3515 Kilo 3515, calling CQ POTA, Parks on the air. All right. Now this is the lovely view that we had from the hotel room the first night. We were not booking hotels based on location or view or anything. It was really just kind of funny that, which is why I took this picture just out the window. We had this beautiful picture of the mall next door. But it was a great time. And, you know, Brian, when he was doing his activation, again, with that link dipole, got a couple of other foreign countries, in fact. And we were getting some pretty good distance out of that antenna, so those can work very, very well. So yeah, we had a great time, and then of course continued the next day. Again, it wasn't that long of a trip. We just cut it short to do the POTA. So here we've arrived at the home of K3LR Tim Duffy, and had just rolled up. And I mean, you can see some of these antenna towers from at least 2 or 3 miles away. If you start kind of looking around above the tree lines. He's got, I think his tallest tower is 240 feet or something like that. So yeah, you just start seeing the towers, and you just kind of start driving towards the towers. And we met Tim, and we started the tour. So we started at kind of one end of the property he owns. Here we can hear Tim describing some of his antennas.
Which is the main station. There are 4 6-element Yagis, one at 230, one at 170, one at 110, and one at 50 feet.
So some of the antennas that really caught our attention at various points on the property that Tim owns are these little 4-square antennas, and some of them are fairly small, and some of them are up on towers of their own. He's got quite a few of these around his property, and they cover different bands. Now, Tim's favorite band is 160 meters. He loves that band, and he has a lot of antennas and things set up to work that band, especially for contests and things. But he's set up for pretty much all the major bands. And a lot of these little 4-square antennas that we were seeing, he was telling us that they have sort of a kit from DX Engineering, and you can get that for he said $300 or $400. So we may look into one of those for our club, maybe 10 meters. It has a little clubhouse area. Then he's got sort of this warehouse area, and also his main workbench and everything, where he just works on stuff. So we just went in there. We're talking about some of his antennas. He had an antenna laying in the driveway when we first pulled up, and he's going to replace one of the beams up on his main tower. And of course, with all that he has in place there, maintenance is a fairly constant thing. You know, he'll do some major updates, and then he may get 10 or 15 or more years out of something. But there's almost something he's having to maintain around all the antennas in the property. And then of course we got to go down into the bunker and down into his main shack setup with all of the stations. If you've ever seen any of his videos or pictures or anything.
Mr. Inoue, the founder and CEO of ICOM, personally signed the top of every radio. Copper reference planes, and boy, does it make a difference.
Really?
Really,
So as we can see here and in the previous little clips and things, Tim has spared no expense, time, or effort to minimize noise and other problems absolutely as much as is humanly possible. He wants to have nice, good, clean stations for his own use and enjoyment, but for the contesting he does and for the groups he likes to work with and invite to participate on these stations he's got set up there. What's amazing is every single station is completely set up and self-contained. The radio, the amplifier, the antenna controllers, it's all dedicated to that station, that frequency. Each station is a frequency, and the noise is extremely low, and the signals are very clear. All right, so in this next segment, Tim's going to talk a little bit about some CW capturing that he has set up and going on. Then we'll hear some audio from the POTA activation that Brian did on our way home from Tim's awesome setup. So we'll let you listen to those and bring you folks right back.
So there's what I5EFO is calling CQ here. And if we click on him, puts him in the call sign field and then takes and tunes the radio.
CQ Parks on the air. CQ Parks on the air. This is Kilo Yankee 4 Bravo Delta Papa activating park Kilo 8631. Activating park Kilo 8631. This is CQ Parks on the air. Listening. CQ POTA. CQ POTA. What did I do here? What were we at?
310. All right, folks, we're going to wrap this one up. This is Chris, KY4CKP for Lake Cumberland Amateur Radio Association. We had a great time making this field trip over to see Tim Duffy's awesome setup, K3LR with DX Engineering. Check out his site. He'll do presentations for your club. We'll see you in the next video. 73.